Hello, welcome to another session of Reading Comprehension meets General Knowledge. Today we will talk about another topic which forms the backdrop of many CAT RC passages. We will talk about colonialism and imperialism. तो इसको हम चार पार्ट में डिवाइड करते हैं. पहले we will talk about the meaning of these two terms. Then we look at the major colonial powers. Then we talk about the factors that led to rise of colonialism, and then the consequences and aftermath. So when we look at the meanings, in दोनों terms को sometimes they are used interchangeably, but there is a difference in meaning. Colonialism refers to taking control of a foreign land, settling it, and then exploiting it. So here you send your own people, they settle in that place, and then they govern that place. इसका best example in India, which was a colony to the British for more than almost 200 years. Imperialism, on the other hand, is a broader ideology that drives colonialism. Imperialism encompasses the desire and ambition to rule over a foreign land or to exert your power over other countries. You may do it by your military might or by diplomacy or by having economic control. But imperialism does not entail having your people there or getting your people settled there and governing the place. Colonialism में आपको वहां पे आपके लोग होते हैं और वो वहां पे राज करते हैं. Now let's look at the major colonial powers. So this all started around 1490, 1500 when Spain and Portugal, they set out to colonize. Of course, they did not set out to colonize. As we know, Christopher Columbus, जो कि स्पेनिश था, he was looking for a way or a sea route to India. Because उसने सुना था कि इंडिया में ह्यूज वेल्थ है, गोल्ड, स्पाइस और बहुत कुछ है. And so he wanted to reach India. He started out, but ultimately he ended up exactly on the opposite side, which is the Americas. So Spain and Portugal were the first colonial powers. They reached uh, Americas. So Spain colonized Mexico and Peru. Portugal colonized Brazil, and they also found a sea route to Africa. And though they started colonizing Africa also. Then comes Britain. Britain became the largest colonial power. At one point of time, it controlled almost one-fourth of the Earth's land. And in fact, as they said, the sun never sets on British Empire. France also was a major colonial power. It colonized large parts of Western Africa, some parts of Asia. Then we had Netherlands and Belgium. So ये सारे के सारे यूरोपियन पावर्स जो थे ये बड़े colonial powers बने. And they spread out everywhere. Britain reached out to even Australia. So Australia, Africa, India, and even the USA. USA उस टाइम पे USA नहीं था. It was a territory of 13 independent states. वहां पे भी ब्रिटेन ने जाके उसको colonize कर दिया. Now, what factors led to the rise of colonialism? So तीन broad factors हैं. One is the economic interest. Second is the political power, and third is cultural supremacy and religion. Economic interest. Now, uh, most of the times they started out uh, on uh, on the pretext, or not really on the pretext, but they started out to have trade. इन्हें basically Europe was getting more industrialized. It had started making items. It wanted a market for its products, and it also wanted the sources of raw material. And India, as a country, was very rich. India को सोने की चिड़िया कहते थे उस टाइम पे. It had almost one-fourth or one-fifth of the wealth of the world. Africa was rich in minerals, gold, many precious metals. So these people wanted control over these resources. So they started trading initially. And then when they identified that these are the fault lines in these countries, they started exerting their control and ultimately started ruling. So economic interests were the prime factor that led to rise in colonialism. Then we had political power. Now each of these colonial power were competing with each other to become a bigger global power. Every colony added to their global prestige. So obviously it was like a competition, एक हो थी इनमें, तो उसके कारण colonialism भी बढ़ता चला गया. And then the cultural supremacy and religion. So Europeans thought that they were the only civilized people in the world, and rest of the world was uncivilized and barbaric, and they needed to go and teach them हाउ टू लिव। तो ये इन्हें लगता था कि इनकी मॉरल ड्यूटी है कि ये दुनिया को सिखाएं तौर तरीके। सो दे वांटेड टू डू दैट, एंड देन दे आल्सो वांटेड टू स्प्रेड their religion. So these were the factors that led to the rise of colonialism. Now the aftermath and consequence. So as we discussed, because the prime motive here was economic, therefore they exploited each of these countries to the hilt. इन्होंने ऑलमोस्ट खोखला कर दिया इंडिया, which was considered to be one of the very wealthy countries, was reduced to being one of the very poor countries by the time they left. Same thing happened everywhere else. So not just economically, but they also exploited culturally, socially. There was a cultural turmoil, social turmoil, and also when they were drawing the boundaries between different nations. तो इन्होंने they did that without any care. और उसका नतीजा आज भी हम भुगत रहे हैं. इफ यू लुक एट इन जियो पॉलिटिक्स टुडे, द मेजर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स बीइंग played out, which is Israel Palestine, और यू टॉक अबाउट इंडिया पाकिस्तान. ये सब नतीजा है जो ये बिग पावर्स थे, तो पर्टिकुलरली ब्रिटेन, इवन फ्रांस फॉर दैट मैटर, इन्होंने जिस तरह से बाउंड्रीज बनाई कंट्रीज के बीच में, उसमें इन्होंने दे नेवर लुक्ड एट वेदर द पीपल दे वर डिवाइडिंग वर एथनिकली similar, or the people they were putting together were ethnically different. So ये सब चीजें बिना कंसिडर किए इन्होंने बाउंड्रीज बनाई, और उसका नतीजा आज भी दुनिया भुगत रही. So this was in a brief an overview on colonialism and imperialism, and I hope it gave you a little bit of an idea. ये सब अगर हमें पता हो तो हम आरसीज को थोड़ा बेटर हैंडल कर सकते हैं. Now of course this is an ocean. I just touched upon very briefly. Whoever wants, they can get deep into it. In fact, sometimes if you wonder that how could just a handful of people aboard a ship, let's say Spanish, when they landed in the Americas, they were just a few people, and then how could they ultimately end up ruling such a big country? How could they control all the natives who are already there? तो आपको अगर इसके बारे में और जानना है, there is a beautiful book called Gun, Germs and Steel by Jared Diamond. So if any of you wants that book, you can write to me in the comment section. Leave your WhatsApp number or your email ID. I can send it to you. So that's it for today. I hope it was useful to you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Meantime, if you are still struggling with your VARC and not able to score well, do look at subscribing to our mock series or our practice material, or even joining our booster course. Thank you so much, and have a good day ahead.